And a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. It is a Wednesday morning here, and under very sunny skies. I thank you for joining us for today's edition of Gudday Grenada. My dear friends, got a lot going on here this morning, so let's get right into it. Take a look at the menu, the rundown. We're going to begin with a piece which was submitted to me this past week. It's captioned, The NIS Saga. Yeah. It was published on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website, and I thought I'd share that with you this morning because the author made some very, very important points. Then, of course, the big buzz here in Grenada overnight was some statements that were made in the House of Representatives when they had their sitting yesterday. MP, Member of Parliament, Tobias Clement raised some eyebrows in Parliament. It's all over Facebook. Yeah, so we're going to share that with you, his comments. And of course, we do have the national report. And right after that, and I can tell you, she is already there. She is already there. Sherron Roberts. We'll get to her in just a wee bit. All right? But first, let me share the story with you about the NIS saga. I recently attended a consultation by the NIS, and the discussion was eye-opening. I learned more about the workings of the NIS in 3 hours than I have in my entire professional life. I don't know if it's my fault or for not investigating the body, or the NIS's lack of public relations, or maybe it's a mixture of both. Nevertheless, the consultation was educational, to say the least. According to data submitted by the NIS, in 2016, for the first time in the existence of the scheme, the expenses of running the scheme were more than the income collected from the members. This came as no shock to the board of directors, as this was foretold by the actuaries. This came as a shock to me, as this was the first time I had heard it. What was even more shocking is the fact that the board waited 3 years, from 2016 to 2019, to let the public in on this worrying information. In the years that followed, the gap between contributed income and expenses has only widened. Why did it take so long to tell the public? I believe the answer lies in the fact that we were 2 years away from another general election. The powers that be didn't want to alienate the voters they needed in order to secure another 5 years in office. Baffling is that the labor representatives on the board of directors remained quiet. Whose welfare are these men looking after? Can't be the employees they're supposed to represent. In light of an MOU that was signed in the dead of the night, hours before a general election, and now this. Questions need to be asked of our trade union leaders as to where their loyalty lies. Much was said by a speaker at the consultation about the drop in birth rates, leading to fewer workers in the economy, and the increased life expectancy, meaning that pensioners are living longer, as the major contributory factors responsible for the woes faced by the NIS. But that is only half of the story. That's the easy part. Shift the blame to the people and you can get away with murder. But there is another side of the story, a side that the Directorate is unwilling to engage in. How have policies of the present administration affected the NIS? Is there anything the government can do besides pay contributions to ensure the survival of the scheme? In an economy that is said to be the fastest growing economy in the Caribbean, how can the scheme be in trouble? In an economy where the unemployment has dropped from 40% to 20%, shouldn't there have been more positive impact on the scheme? There is only so much the public can do, and the use of fair tactics, such as, quote, your kids will have to pay a contribution rate of 44% later on, unquote, can only go so far. Why is the Directorate of the Board so unwilling to engage government in discussions regarding the scheme? There is an immediate need to increase the contributions paid to the scheme, and there are two policies of the government that directly contradict this aim. Firstly, there is the penchant of government to hire retired officers in high salaried positions. According to the director of the NIS, whenever a pensioner comes back into the workforce, there is only a 1% contribution to the scheme paid by the employer. Kane retired at 60 and started receiving his pension from the NIS. 5 years later, he is offered and accepts a position with the government. This position comes with a salary of $8,000. At this rate of 1%, the NIS receives a mere $80. Had this position gone to someone else, the scheme would have received $720. The scheme, therefore, has lost $640 because of the action of the government. Secondly, the government is populating the nation with Imani workers. An Imani receives a stipend that is far lower than what that person would have made had they entered the labor force on their own. This means that an Imani's contribution to the NIS would be lower than a worker doing a comparable job. Is the Directorate of the NIS bold enough to challenge the government on these points that directly affect the working of the scheme? There are a few other points that can be made concerning the government's role. For example, creating the environment in Grenada to ensure that our workers come back and work after going abroad and studying. Make changes to its employment policies such that we prevent our workers from migrating and contributing to a foreign social security scheme. Last year, over 80 nurses left Grenada to take up employment in England. Providing incentives to young entrepreneurs to start businesses and thus creating employment for themselves and others. Foreign investors can't be the only beneficiaries of tax breaks and other government incentive packages. There is no sorting out the issues plaguing the NIS without the help of the government. And it is going to take more than a willingness and ability to the 5% contribution on behalf of the workers. The workers are already saddled with 20+ additional fees, taxes, and levies from the structural adjustment period. The period of adjustment has passed, but the belt-tightening measures have not expired. There needs to be a loosening of the belt to motivate workers to rally around the call to raise the age of retirement and contribution rate. It is fair, moral, and righteous to ask the people already powering the fastest growing economy, or let me rephrase that. Is it fair, moral, and righteous to ask the people who are already powering the fastest growing economy to put out more? Is it right to ask them to dip into their pockets to give out more without first realizing or releasing some of the pressure that they're living under? How can we say we are doing right by the ordinary workers when we are consigning many of them to poverty? Do not forget that these are the same workers who are going to shoulder the burden of the national health insurance next year, please God. The tragedy of the NIS saga is that the labor unions and government are in a legal battle regarding gratuities and pensions. And so, workers are not sure if they're going to receive a government pension. And if they do receive one, what will be the size of the emolument? The NIS pension is the sure thing, the one we could look forward to. Now we're told that if nothing is done by 2035, the reserves of the NIS will drop to zero. On the basis of that fact only, workers should support changes to the scheme to ensure that they do not retire in poverty. Yet, the board has to engage the government to incentivize the changes. We have no right to ask workers to make further sacrifices without giving them something back for all the sacrifices they have made before. I call on the labor unions and the directorate of the board of directors to ensure that the government does its part to see that the NIS remains viable. This is not a workers-only issue, so let's stop pretending that it is. Pilgrims, that was submitted to me by a contributor last week. I think it was, last week. If you wish to read that over again, you may go to the GRENADABROADCAST.com website and check it out yourself. Just before, oh boy, we're running late. Let me, running late, but we're never going to forget you guys out there on social media. TF is there this morning. John is there. Pele, you're early this morning. What happened? Couldn't sleep last night, eh? Glenna Knights is saying good morning. John says NIS couldn't run a rum shack. Benedict Cador is wishing you a wonderful Wednesday. John says fewer workers for fewer job balances out, right? No, John. Veronica Sandy is saying good morning. T.F. Richards. Modeste Kerwin made a statement years ago. You can't cut the hand that feeds you. As such, do you expect the NIS to approach the government? Never. Observant. Very, very observant, TF. He goes on to say, but George, the greatest question looming in my mind is this. What's the state of government and business contribution to the NIS? I have known of issues where money is removed from salaries, but not paid to the NIS. The government has been bombarding NIS to get money from them on different occasions. Has the government repaid? Good question, TF. Peter Bishop's checking in. And John says, use the buzzword, George, sustainable. How often do we hear that nowadays? My gosh. TF says, the NIS has invested in certain real estate ventures on the island. For example, the old Hotel Havana, opposite the SSU compound at Point Salines. What are they doing with it? I don't know. Ryan's also chiming in, so is Bernard, and Pele is asking the question, what are the delinquency percentages from 2015 to now? Hazel is also chiming in. Okay, folks, we've said good morning to you on Facebook. Let me get to the other segment. This one's a kind of an eye-opener, if you know what I'm talking about. As you take a look, let me cue this up. As you take a look at this next piece from this week's sitting of the House of Representatives, give some thought as to whether or not there is some underlying issue or unease in the House. Makes me very curious about what we may be hearing when the next sitting of the House of Representatives comes about. Here, pilgrims, is Member of Parliament Tobias Clement speaking yesterday.
A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity of visiting this parliament while the youth parliament was being held here. And from our youth, the level of debate that ensued, I'm thinking, am I in the house that I know I am? And a couple people after, Mr. Speaker, really spoke about the depth that the youth presented in this parliament. And here we are in this house, Mr. Speaker. Can we, or should we? And I think we do have the genius of our youth too. But if we are given notice a day or two before, can that really give us adequate time to prepare and bring justice to this house? I mean, if it is almost done in an ad hoc manner, it means, therefore, it's almost piecemeal in presentation. And then after you go to your home and you would sit and you would think, oh my goodness, maybe this point should have been raised. So from time to time, we see bills leaving this house, going to the Senate, and then have to come back here. And I do believe, Mr. Speaker, you have been sitting in that chair now for over 6 years. And I have raised it on numerous occasions. And now my brother is there, and probably he is thinking, well, that is what I was talking about. But, Mr. Speaker, I have another concern that I must raise in this House. And today I feel compelled to raise it. And this is the issue to deal with the constituency offices. Mr. Speaker, I am almost feeling as I'm at my wit's end. Because I do believe, Mr. Speaker, in the separation of powers. You have the executive branch, you have the legislative, and you have the judiciary. And we are almost there as checks and balances to each other. Mr. Speaker, when I stood a long time ago, I stood because I believe in democracy. You know, it is 30 years, almost to the day, that I stand when our Prime Minister took over leadership of the new National Party. And as a child, I stood in Carriacou, me and my family and a few friends. Mr. Speaker, those were difficult days. But I stood 1989 to 1995. And Mr. Speaker, those were the days when I knew fear. Because at the time in Carriacou, I always hear the political leader say he always remembers that in 1990 election in Carriacou, NNP got 59 votes. I stood the test of time there. It was Sir Nicholas Braffett, it was De Glennie, it was Joan Posser, it was Michael Caesar, it was Honorable Elvin Nimrod. But I stood because I believe in our democracy. And I believe that if I take a stand at time, that we would rise to the occasion. But Mr. Speaker, I rise today here with a profound sense of regret that I have to speak that the way that our parliamentary offices have been administered, that I have to call it into question. I do not know if it's vis-a-vis or St. George's Northeast alone, but it seems that we are going through a very difficult and trying time. And it is maybe, Mr. Speaker, that I might have to call this bluff. Mr. Speaker, I do not know, but maybe I should put this House on notice that probably when I come back here on another occasion, it might be from a different standpoint. And that is really being contemplated by me today. Mr. Speaker, you know, I spent 10 years in Texas. And one of the favorite games that we learn to play is Texas Hold'em. It's a game of poker, a high-stakes game. Mr. Speaker, I believe we are at the point now when I might just have to call that bluff. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There he is, Mr. Tobias Clement, Honorable Tobias Clement, speaking in Parliament yesterday. Now, let's see where this goes. Like I said, I'm very curious about what he's going to say when next the House meets. I wonder if the next sitting is going to be, you know, on a regular basis, or if we're going to have to wait a long time for that one. By the way, Pele. So you like my polo shirt, eh? Another gift, man. Eat your heart out. Thanks a lot. T.F. Richards says, oh, by the way, we've been joined by Kipling and Petra Andrews, Hazel Ferguson, and hold on a sec here. You guys are going too fast for me this morning. T.F. Richards says, George, when you say in the House, are you speaking of the House of Parliament or the House? You know, I just had a gut feeling that question was going to come up sometime this morning. I just suspected that. Never mind. You go figure. Sherron says, good morning, George. And Sherron's joining us from Florida. She's been up there now to attend the funeral of her dear sister. She says here, I have with me this morning a former chairman of the NIS board, one Kennedy Roberts. I have taken the liberty of asking him to comment on the NIS. Okay, boy, in that case, let's hurry up. Let's hurry up and get the national report out of the way so we can get to that. Jackie O is saying good morning, and so is Arlene Rodriguez. T.F. Richards says, Tobias has had the testicular fortitude to speak his mind against the ill wills of his boss and party in the House of Parliament. This is commendable, but I wonder, what are the internal consequences of his action? But he's still standing his ground, it seems. Anthony DeRigg says, "Good morning, George. I listened to Mr. Tobias, and all I can say is I see commerce in the future. Yaman. Things will unravel from within, as history showed it." Kipling Francis says, "Not surprising, coming from Minister Tobias." Lydia George is also with us. And let's see here. Ryan Jaban says, "Toby is talking in parables, but is unhappy. Undemocratic things." All right, break time. And then we're going to come back with the NIS and hurry up and get to Sherron and Kennedy Roberts. Hang in there.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Coop Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Boyo, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Grenada's CBI program hailed yet again for its level of integrity. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, April 16th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. Grenada's Citizenship by Investment Program, CBI, is again being hailed for its focus on due diligence, efficiency, and integrity. During a meeting of the House of Representatives on Tuesday, Minister for Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Peter David, said government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, is doing all the necessary checks and balances to ensure the program is of a high level of integrity. The Grenada Citizenship by Investment Amendment Bill 2019 was the only one brought before the House for first reading and remaining stages. At its sitting of March 21st, Senate made a few amendments to the Grenada Citizenship by Investment Amendment Act 2019. Minister David said all that is done is for the benefit of the country.
Many people complain sometimes about the rigorous checks that we make on CBI applications, and that is because of our experience. Our experience has been that we need to focus on due diligence, and I must commend our Prime Minister for being very, very, very careful to ensure that persons who become citizens of Grenada through the CBI and through any other mechanism are of the quality that we believe comfortable. We have one of the lowest crime rates in the region, if not the lowest, and we want to maintain that. Plus, we want to maintain the integrity of the program. I've always said about our program as compared to other programs. In fact, I say when I go out and speak that our program is the Ferrari of CBI programs because it might be a little more expensive, but the quality is good. We focus on quality and due diligence, and that is why the Grenada program has integrity. And this attempt here today, what we are doing here today is aimed at improving the quality of the program while at the same time not compromising on the issue of due diligence to ensure that we don't have persons coming here who we do not want.
Grenada offers two options under the CBI program. One requires a contribution of $250,000 to the National Transformation Fund, while the second option provides for real estate investment of $350,000 and a contribution of $50,000 to the National Transformation Fund. Minister David hopes people will understand that the program is not one that is restricted to the purchase of passports, since this is not the essence. He says their aim is to improve its quality to ensure greater efficiency.
What we have today, that the Prime Minister, as the Minister responsible for CBI, he has ensured that the CBI unit is up to speed, that there is efficiency in the process to ensure that we stick by the law with respect to speed, but we also never compromise on due diligence, quality, efficiency. And those are the watchwords of this government. So what we are doing here today is improving the quality without in any way compromising on the question of due diligence.
Government will continue to contribute all the resources needed, whether in the form of finance or counseling, to fight the scourge of child sexual abuse, but it will be reckless for comments to be made on judicial matters. That's according to Social Development Minister the Honorable Delma Thomas during Tuesday's meeting of the House of Representatives. Her comments are in direct response to the latest reported case of child sexual abuse, which has been lighting up social media in the last week, with many using the platform to call for the intervention of the Ministry, Child Protection Authority, and others.
One of the latest cases, which has been very much in the public domain, is one of those cases too many. We are aware that there have been some widespread comments about the results of the particular case in the court. Mr. Speaker, you will appreciate that it will be reckless and irresponsible for the executive to make public comments on judicial matters. The ministry rightfully has no say, no influence on the judicial process. Our mandate is to work in the interests of families, particularly children, and to try to assist families, guardians, and the wider community to make safer communities for all our children.
Minister Thomas calls for good sense to prevail when posting on social media, which according to her may do more harm than good for a minor.
I understand that it's a vexing issue, and as mothers we are also upset. But we have to, with all the emotions, we have to ensure that while we are speaking in public domain, that we do not create more harm than good on the child. And therefore I urge our people who are writing in social media, who are commenting, let us also think about the child and the effect we can have on her by what we are doing at present.
Parliamentary Representative for St. Mark, the Honourable Clarice Modeste Kerwin, gave support to the call for more to be done to stamp out sexual abuse. She says there are laws that must be reformed for justice to prevail.
I believe that there are some laws in this country that need to be reviewed with great urgency, very seriously. Some of the manner in which things are done need to be looked at. There are various entities, various ministries that have more stake in doing that than others. And I think it is a wake-up call for everyone who has a responsibility to do more effectively and efficiently so that justice can be served. Whether it's on one side or the other, we are not taking sides, but we believe that the scourge of sexual abuse has to be dealt with more effectively in our country.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The eyes of the world are on us more than ever. So let's take it to them. Saturday, May 4th, the Spice Mass Corporation launches Spice Mass 2019. The Caribbean's biggest summer festival. This year's launch starts with a roadshow from Ariza Car Park to the National Stadium from 3 p.m. Bring out your last year's costume and join the parade. It's one big experience with a display of fancy man, traditional man, Moko Jumbi, and the most envied Jab Jab. The official opening is at the National Stadium, featuring your favorite soca artists and DJs, Calypso Monarch, Steel Pan champions, and presentations of the 2019 Carnival Queen contestants, plus displays of 2019 costumes, SMC show tickets, and other attractions to be won. Saturday, May 4th, the National Stadium, the launch of Spice Mass 2019. Bring out the entire family. Log on to spicemassgrenada.com for more.
Continuing the news, some of the major players in Grenada's hospitals and health facilities have completed 2 days of training as part of a Smart Hospital project, a component of the second phase of the Smart Healthcare Facility in the Eastern Caribbean project. The plan is to invest in health systems and build resilience to climate change. Acting Chief Health Planner Ms. Camille St. Louis says Grenada already has one facility at Mirabeau which is certified smart. She says being smart simply means being able to function and survive during and after a disaster.
A smart healthcare facility is a facility that is considered to be safe in that it should remain functioning before, during, and after any hazard event. It is a facility that should be green. It is a facility that in its operations is expected to reduce the impact on the environment by incorporating systems to reduce the use of water and to reduce the use of energy. And it is also expected to be a facility that is well maintained.
The ancillary staff is now more aware of what is expected of them at a smart facility, as well as the impact of disasters and conservation and resilience.
We will begin to introduce you to how or what is your role and your responsibility in a smart healthcare facility. So we will do a little bit of introduction on disaster management, introduce you to what is a smart facility and your role. We'll look at issues related to food safety, fire safety, maintenance.
More aware of what is expected of them at a smart facility, as well as the impact.
All of these things impact whether or not our facility can remain functioning before, during, and after a disaster, and whether or not we are able to attain and retain the designation of SMART, that these facilities will be designated SMART.
The Grenada Cultural Foundation says 20 sets of designs have been submitted to the National Wear Competition via the GCF. The competition was launched in January and the deadline for applications ended on Friday. The next phase will be the selection of the 5 finalists who will each receive $1,000 to be used to make their garments. They will be judged by a panel which includes an ethnological expert, 3 fashion experts and 1 historical expert. The public is also expected to be engaged in the final selection going forward. The selection of the 5 finalists will conclude on Friday, May 31st, 2019. The final selections are expected to be rolled out in a fashion show planned for a later date. The competition is being used to design Grenada's national wear for both men and women and will represent both formal and casual designs. The final designs will become the property of the Government of Grenada and can be used at national events and other functions both at home and abroad. The Grenada Cultural Foundation and the National Celebrations Committee are spearheading the initiative on behalf of the Ministry of Culture and the Arts under the stewardship of Senator Norland Cox. It is anticipated that the wear should be ready in time for the 2020 Independence celebrations. And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Alrighty, folks, I'm going to try as quickly as possible to get through these. You guys were really busy during the NIS report. First of all, John says, Peter David is singing to the choir. Okay, John. T.F. Richard says, does Peter David really know what's going on in Grenada? We have attracted some of the most notorious fraudsters over the years, who have been found out only after obtaining our passports. But would the devil say that hell is too hot? TF. Never compromise, Peter? Like, really? TF. Peter Bishop says, which program is Minister David talking about? Is it the same program that found Charles Liu? Jokes for so in Grenada. Kipling Francis says, if Grenada is hailed for its integrity, then can someone enlighten me as to when the meaning of the word integrity was changed? Kipling. Peter Bishop says Grenadians need to know the laws of their country. What needs to happen is a total overhaul of our laws, especially when it comes to sexual offenses. Lots of the noise that is being made in social media is due to lack of knowledge of our laws. Just my humble opinion. Maybe to some extent, Pedro, but I also believe that the people who keep posting a lot of that crap in social media need to be held accountable. A lot of people don't understand. If you don't understand, try and find out. How many of them will pick up a phone or call somebody and ask them, is this true? Could you verify this? No. They go on social media because they have the right to and the freedom, and they maliciously post content. And I can vouch that some people do so deliberately to hurt. And you know it. Okay. Veronica Sandy says, this child, I guess she's referring to the 5-year-old, has no future. God bless her. She needs to be prayed for the rest of her life. Jesus wept. T.F. Richard says, being smart in Grenada only means operating with minimum overworked and tired staff with little or no resources. Kipling says, the truth is, it starts at the top. The big boys get away free, so it leaves every wicked-minded pervert to think that they can get away. On the money, sir. On the money. So let me see if there's anything else here. TF says, some of our laws are good, but the judgments are sometimes way off. Pilgrims, I'm anxious. We're going to get to these guys in just a wee bit. But first...
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Conveniently located in the Grandand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen now, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
Alright, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am. But didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadans will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Start the stride to a healthy lifestyle at the 2019 annual Pump It Up Family Fun Walk. There'll be more fun, more smiles, and more prizes for families and friends. Join us in Carriacou on April 7th at 4 p.m. as we walk from the Harveyvale playing field to the Hillsborough tennis courts, and in Grenada on April 28th at 4 p.m. from the Montrouge playing field to the National Cricket Stadium. Packages cost $20 per person for up to 2 individuals and $15 per person for groups of 3 or more. Come out in your numbers to help us raise funds towards re-establishing the Carlton Home. Welcome home.
Alrighty, folks. Alrighty, here we go. It's now 12 minutes away from the hour. Take a look. Take a look. See them? Brother and sister in beautiful Florida. How are you guys? Good morning.
Good morning, George.
All is well?
All is well. Last Wednesday, we were up at my brother Lincoln in Wellington, Palm Beach area.
Yeah.
And today we're in Plantation at my niece, Natasha.
I know. Who's that guy sitting on your right there?
That is my baby brother, very much baby brother, Kennedy. And I thought, listening to you early on, I thought how fortunate we are today to have in my company a former chairman of the NIS board.
Yeah.
So I pulled him out of the house when the program started, and he listened to most of what you read about NIS. So I asked him to comment, and I know we don't have much time, so I'll give you Kennedy.
You know, Kennedy, first of all, it's great to see you, bro. And yes, Sherron, we're running out on time, but I'm going to add some time this morning. This is just too important. I'm going to add some time. We need to hear from you guys. Kennedy, you sat listening to what this writer sent to me. What say you, bro?
Well, you know, I didn't plan to be up here at this time, but the situation warranted me being here to give support to the family and my big sister moving on. But the issue of NIS is a very important one. And right now, the NIS is moving around doing some consultation. I was supposed to have attended to one of the sessions a couple of weeks ago, but circumstances prevented me. But I intend to make some more detailed comments with regards to their consultation. Because really and truly, we need to step back and acknowledge that Grenada is a small country, and we cannot work in silos. If we want to get the best out of our people in terms of productivity and employment and everything, we have to take a more integrated, multi-sectoral approach to our development. And when I was the chairman of the NIS board around 2001 to 2003, one of the things that I tried to suggest, but it didn't succeed, was we need to take a broader look at the concept of social security. The NIS is a social security organization. And based on the ILO, the International Labour Organization definition of social security, it is much broader than a pension scheme. Social security, for example, includes health. And in a lot of the Latin American countries, the social security institutions, their version of our NIS, actually have hospitals and clinics and deliver health services. But their populations are millions. With 100,000 people in Grenada, we need to see how the NIS can look at social security in its broader context. So, for example, we know that in the US and many other countries, people have a social security number. What does that mean? Every individual need to be uniquely identified. Because, you know, I know some people say, oh, the Bible say we had to number everybody and that is the 666 and so on. But the reality is, if we want to make progress as a society, we need to have data to document what is happening. If you need accountability, you need data. And if every Grenadian has to benefit from our social security system, which includes health, we need to have some way of documenting what is happening. And we need to look at a comprehensive mechanism for identifying our people. The other thing is, when we talk about health, we all know that the government is pushing the national health insurance. And national health insurance is something that I pioneered in the mid-1990s. The documents are there to show that this was the push in the late 1990s. However, in 2005, the World Health Organization and Pan American Health Organization advocated for universal health coverage. So it means more than just healthcare financing. And it is unfortunate that this government is not seeing the big picture. So when we talk about NIS and the problem it's going through, it's really a microcosm of the bigger problem. We are not looking at governance in Grenada now seriously. Grenada is being run in a very ad hoc, what they call a laissez-faire manner, where every ministry is working as a silo. NIS is working as a silo. They're not working as a team. And in Grenada, with our limited human resources, we do not even appreciate our own. We have the University of the West Indies Health Economics Unit working with the NIS, with this National Health Insurance, and they're not taking the big picture into consideration. They're just executing a contract to do an exercise, but not interested in the Grenadian people. And this is something that we really need to examine in a little more detail. How are we managing the human resources of our country? The World Bank 2019 World Development Report, and you can find it easily, Google it, look at it's on human capital. Even the World Bank, the current president of the World Bank that stepped down, Dr. Kim, he worked with the World Health Organization previously, and he has taken a human development approach to even the World Bank, which historically wasn't interested in people. And in Grenada, we have a government now, and well, I can zero in on the Ministry of Health because the leadership in the health sector is the worst it has ever been. You know, Nicholas Steele, with all due respect to him, he must be good at something in life. But when it comes to being the leader of our health sector, he's doing a horrible job. You know, there's a health plan, 2016 to 2025. And in that health plan, they have not looked at the Sustainable Development Goals. They have not looked at universal health coverage. And I wonder, in his introduction as a minister, he talks about health as an investment rather than health as a human right. You know, so our concept of what is going on in our country has reached to the stage that the NNP won an election only a year ago. But Grenada is not being managed. Grenada is not being led in a manner consistent with human development. So NIS is an organization that's supposed to be looking after the social security needs of the entire population from birth till death. That is not happening. That is not part of their philosophy. So I hope as there is this consultation and more dialogue about NIS in particular, we can broaden the scope of the discussion and say, okay, you have national health insurance as an objective. Because you're getting funding from the wherever sources, let us use those resources to look at the bigger picture of what the Sustainable Development Goals are saying about people. Because we cannot depend on an Imani program for our young people. We have to look at our school system. Get children to have some love and desire for something, be passionate about something, and then give them the opportunity to build on it. So it's a problem of governance. It's a big picture issue, and social security needs to be seen in a much broader context.
Petra Andrew Thomas seems to agree with you, Ken. She's saying good information. They really need to have a database in order to produce long-term information and be effective. You agree?
You know, and the thing is, there's help in many areas, but this government does not want to include people. We have Grenadians at home and abroad who have the skills and the talents to help us, but we're not tapping into that.
Kennedy, you know, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm recalling a statement that was made on this program a couple of weeks ago. Somebody pointed out that these guys don't know, and they don't know that they don't know. Okay, you were talking a minute ago about the health minister. Something that always brings a smile to my face. This guy stands in front of a television camera and seems to speak so authoritatively, you know, and he doesn't know that he doesn't know.
George, I think one of the problems is that three-letter word, ego.
Yeah. Big thing.
That's one of the problems. And one of the things Kennedy said is that NNP won election a year ago and all these things up. But I would rather say 6 years ago, because remember they were there for 5 years before and did nothing. And now this year added to that, give you 6 years. And if in 6 years you could be so incompetent, you know, I think Grenada is in a very sad place.
T.F. Richard says, Kennedy, your services are being wasted. It is sad that politics often hinders progressive development.
And one of the things, remember, Kennedy is a health economist, and they do not, he has offered his services, right? And politics, of course, and ego.
Yeah.
They don't want to know.
No, but I must add that just before I left Grenada on Friday, on Monday last week, the National Health Insurance team came to St. George's University to our department and did a presentation on national health insurance, because, you know, I told them in a regional forum in November that they need to address this thing in a more national way rather than a partisan way. And as professionals, I told my colleagues at the Health Economics Unit at UE that they have been afraid to make the politicians, and especially our Minister of Health, acknowledge the big picture. So while they're doing what they're being asked to do, I understand that, but I told them that they have a responsibility also to guide them and make them see that what they're doing is not appropriate to what is being considered best practice. You know, and our health situation and our human development situation, because it's more than health. Because when you look at the average income of a Grenadian, NIS can't make money based on the needs of people. People's salaries, I don't know how people can survive on a 800, 1,000 EC dollars a month, 1,200. They're encouraging people to do things to make additional income, because you cannot survive. And when we look at the data, and when we talk about Grenada economy doing well, some people look at one piece of information. But when you look at the information within the context of what is happening in Grenada's economy, what's that sort of salaries we're making? This set of Imani people, they're in there now year after year after year, earning a pittance. How can you contribute to Social Security? There are a lot of self-employed persons who are not in. So if you ask NIS, they will tell you, okay, they have 40,000 registered, more or less, contributors. But we have 100,000 people that all have Social Security needs. So it has to be a broader discussion. And we don't plan. This 2035 plan, I'm part of the committee now. I'm representing the NDC on the National 2035 plan. But I don't think the government is serious about it.
Okay. John Kennison says, too tribal to the detriment of the country. Petra Andrew Thomas says, that's how big countries collect information. We have very talented people inside and outside of the country we really need to tap into. I hope the consultation is not a waste of money and going by the wayside. Folks, just a reminder that everything you're watching or listening to here this morning has to do with our good governance agenda, okay? Please, don't think for 1 minute that this is about sitting and bashing government. Heck no. Nope. If you don't believe what you hear here, check out social media. Check out the regular media. Hey, take a walk on the streets of this country. Just a little walk. And listen. You don't have to say anything. Just listen. Listen to the people. You'll find out why this program is committed to a good governance agenda. You sometimes see us flash that up on the screen. That's what this is all about. Kennedy, I have a question for you. You touched on it. Hold on a sec. T.F. Richard says, George, the best info I ever heard from Kennedy was the information given on the NDC platform at Last Suggest during the last campaign. And I don't mix politics with country. I was pleased with that info. And if a page is taken from Kennedy and other positive officials, we can definitely have positive results. That's TF. Kennedy, you mentioned the health insurance plan that supposedly coming. Do you think that's going to materialize? And if so, when? Do you have any inside information that we don't?
Well, as I told the team from NHI a couple of weeks ago, I sympathize with them because they're doing a job which they will not see any fruits in the next 3 years as long as this government is in power. Because the whole philosophy, the principle on which they're doing it is flawed. Because they're not doing it to improve the health status of the population. They're doing it to make people pay for health care. And while, yes, the money has to come from somewhere and people has to be paid and money is an integral part of health care. But health care is first and foremost about people. And if we do not appreciate the human element in health reform, then it's flawed. So they're trying to push something to raise money and pool it and manage it. But you're asking, okay, how are you going to pay the doctors? How are people going to access care in our health centers? What is the quality of care offered there now? Who are using it? You know, so we have to make people see healthcare not in terms of sickness, in terms of where you go to see a doctor when you are sick. But we have to discuss healthcare in terms of prevention. What is going to keep you healthy? What is going to give you the ability to be more productive? What is going to give young children the ability to learn and expand their potential and reach their best possible life goals? We have to see this not in terms of a short term, but a long term approach. So as I went to some schools recently talking about World Health Day. World Health Day was April the 7th. Again, you heard nothing from the Minister of Health. Usually for every recognized day in the world, you hear ministers give a speech, and you would hear coming up World Family Day, World this day, and ministers. Nicholas Steele did not give a speech last year for World Health Day. He did not give it this year. And the simple reason is the World Health Organization repeated the theme for last year, which is universal health coverage, everyone, everywhere. And because this government is not advocating for universal health coverage, they're going to World Health Organization meetings and saying, yes, yes. But when they get back home, they're not advocating for it. So they're not saying it. So I've been saying for the last 5-6 years plus that this Minister of Health and this government needs to be promoting universal health coverage. When I was on the committee looking at national health insurance, my first recommendation is let us look at universal health coverage, of which health financing is an integral part. They are not taking the recommendation, and because in the last election, as the comment you made recently talking about the meeting in Las Vegas, I articulated how this government is not interested in the health of the people, and they must approach universal health coverage. And because I told them they must do it, the ego that they will not do it, because once they do it, every piece of information for the last 6 years will say, okay, why have we waited so long? It is because of their incompetence. And that is why I have disassociated myself with the NNP, because they have clearly shown me and the Grenadian people that they're not interested in the health and the human development of our people. They want to keep people in bondage and have an Imani program indefinitely. We need to see our school system developing and giving young children the ability, when they turn 15, 16, that they have a passion for some field, that they will be entrepreneurs, they will further their studies. We will make TAMCC have the ability to be a full university, let our people be faculty members with PhDs and masters and teaching and creating a human being that is able to produce, and we won't have an Imani program in 10 years. But with this government, they're perpetuating it because they want to continue the handouts.
All right, hold on a sec here. T.F. Richard says, George, and this is the problem with our Grenada. If we look at our policies on paper, it is only second to the Bible. But we continue to dip our hands politically. If NNP is in government, an NDC supporter would take a back stand or is pushed aside, and vice versa. I only hope that with the help of common Grenadians and people like you and the Roberts family, we ours be able to remove that scourge. I'm not sure what that last part means.
The scourge of parties and politics, because I am fed up with the partisan approach to everything. And that's why Papa God gave me the ability to have been involved with NNP and now with NDC, because we have to break that color barrier.
All right.
So we have to do it in the interest of the country.
Veronica Sandy says, why some government is afraid of health care for everyone in their country? Is it greed, or they only care about themselves? Grenada needs universal health care. Kipling says, don't blame the Minister of Health. Remember, a medical doctor was in charge and did not know what she was doing. So how can a car dealer do better? Petra Andrew Thomas says, Mr. Kennedy, kudos to you, sir. Let them know for sure healthcare is not just sickness. It's a broader picture that encompasses so much more. Longevity of life, and so much more. Kennedy, boy, we could talk about health until 7:30 tonight, but we ain't have time. But there's something else I want to touch on here. You mentioned that you disassociated yourself from the party. Did you hear that piece we played this morning from Tobias Clement?
No, I wasn't picking it up clearly.
Well, you know, he indicated yesterday at the sitting of the House of Representatives that when he goes back into Parliament, he may be speaking from a different perspective.
Right.
And a lot of people, because this man has spoken very openly, you may not always agree with him, but I have a great admiration for him, because when he stands up in Parliament, he makes me listen. All right? He's not afraid to call a spade a spade. And there's a lot of speculation that because of what he said yesterday, are we going to see a crossing of the floor, and will the opposition now have an official leader? But you said you really didn't hear much of it. Did you get any of it at all?
Yes, actually, while I didn't hear what you played, I actually saw something on social media quoting him. So I was aware of the situation, and I'm not totally surprised, because recently I went to a funeral in Bolio, and he and Senator Garvey were sitting next to each other, and the human dynamics was so interesting. They were not even communicating. When signing a peace, they didn't even shake each other's hand. They didn't look at each other And it was so conspicuous that somebody said, boy, look how that. But I remember a month before the election last year, I saw Tobias in Mount Parnassus, and I told Tobias, I said, Tobias, you know, I'm really so disgusted and disappointed with your presentation on the platform and the way you deal with it, that I've decided to get involved and support the NDC. He said, boy, Kennedy, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. I said, Tobias, these people are not interested in the development. They're using you, and they're not interested in people. They're just interested in the politics. Look how they're playing. And he said, no, you're making the wrong decision and this and that. I said, Tobias, one of these good days, you will realize for yourself what is going on with these people.
George, some years ago, Tobias, the first time Tobias ran for NNP in Carriacou.
In 1995.
They treated Tobias so badly. So badly. He lost. Nimrod ran as an independent and won. And
no, Joan Purcell won.
Joan Purcell won, but NNP won the election. And instead of speaking to Tobias and saying, well, you know, this is what we intend to do, they just announced that Nimrod was going to be the senator for Carriacou and Pitimartinic. I remember Tobias, at the time I lived in Pitimartinic, and Tobias came to my house because I was supporting NNP at the time, and he cried. He said, Cousin Sherron, I feel so bad. I don't know what to do. So I guided him a little bit. I said, well, look, they've made Nimrod the minister and the senator, and you're out in the cold. I said, but don't just look at it as a negative. I said, go to Dr. Mitchell and tell him you want a scholarship, because he's a brilliant guy. Eh? He's very, very bright. I said, tell him you want a scholarship to go and further your education. He did so, took my advice, got a scholarship, and went off to the US to study. I'm not sure exactly what he studied, but he's now a tutor at St. George University. But while he was in the US, the NNP terrorized him. Some he knew of, some he didn't know of. And I could tell you for a fact, the last election, I said on the platform in Pitimartinic that if Tobias know what Mr. Nimrod and Ambassador Antoine did to him, he can never stand up and say he supports NNP. I gave out my phone number. I said, tell Tobias Clement to call me. Instead of that, his wife went and ended up cussing me and tell me if I don't know nothing, to call her husband's name. Would you believe she's also my cousin? You know, but one day I will sit with Tobias and I will tell him. One of the things I have about him is that he has become very full of himself. The same three-letter word, ego. He met me on the beach in Pitimartinic one time, not too long ago, and asked, Miss Roberts, is it? They have somebody in Pitimartinic that don't know Sherron Roberts. I tired tell them, my neighbor string berry on the backwab tree in Cabier. Cabier is Madame Pierre, where the Roberts people sit. That is the seat of the Roberts family. You know, so Tobias, I'm glad he has
seen the
a
light.
little background, a backbone, sorry, and he has seen the light. But I'll make an appointment for us to chat when I get home. And if he's staying NNP, you really have belly.
All right. Okay, let me say thank you. Boy, we have gone 15 minutes overtime already. And I see everybody has stayed right there because what you guys have been saying has been so interesting. Couple more comments on social media. Petra Andrew Thomas says, healthcare has nothing to do with party. It's about country and the well-being of the country and humanity. Kipling Francis says, oh, Kipling says, Senator Garraway is a complete complete waste of time. That's my personal opinion. A fake pastor. Folks, folks, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. When are you guys coming home?
I will be home on Friday night.
This Friday?
And this Friday.
So
I leave up here on Thursday, and I get to Trinidad, but I have some business in Trinidad, so I'll be home on Friday night.
All right, so that means that next week, Wednesday, you're going to be sitting down in that chair back here?
Right in that chair.
All right.
As long as God is willing.
Right.
Kennedy
long time.
I'm coming in on Sunday, please God.
Kennedy, long time I see you inside here. You know.
Well, once you invite me, I've always come once you invited me, 100% of the time.
Kennedy, yes, you have always responded when I've asked, but Kennedy, you don't have to ask. Huh?
Put him on your schedule for Sunday after Easter Sunday.
Sunday after Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot of people want to get on that day.
I'm going to be on a couple of weeks vacation, meaning official vacation. I have work to do, especially because I came up here during work time. So I have several things to do, but I have a lot of flexibility over the next 3 weeks, so we can do some morning chats during the week also.
Okay, great. Sherron, let him come sit alongside you one of these days. You know, no big deal, man.
No problem.
Jackie O says, love the program today. Bernard Gilbert says, thumbs up to the Roberts family. And T.F. Richard says, George, missing his Kaluki.
We're not missing Kaluki. There's so many of us.
We're playing up here.
Are you really?
Because Vincent is up here. Claude was up here. So we had more than Wednesday night game. We were playing every day.
Okay. Good to see you guys. Say hi to Vincent for me.
Will do.
Take care. Sherron and Kennedy Roberts from Florida there today. That's going to do it for this morning's edition. But hang in there, hang in there, hang in there. Don't go. Because I still have probably the most important part of this morning's program. Our words of inspiration. Hang in there just a wee bit, and we'll be right back.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Alrighty, folks, today's word comes to you from the book of Isaiah, Isaiah 42, verses 1 to 8. Here is my servant, whom I uphold, my chosen one, in whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, and he will bring justice to the nations. He will not shout or cry out or raise his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. In faithfulness he will bring forth justice. He will not falter or be discouraged till he establishes justice on earth. In his teaching, the islands will put their hope. Isaiah 42, verses 1 to 8. Lord, my prayer to you today, please show us that person. Grenada needs to meet him face to face. And now. Veronica Sandy is saying, blessed day, everybody. Nice show. Where is Margaret? Hi, missed you. Yes, I forgot. Margaret advised me earlier this morning that she had a meeting to attend to today, and as a result, she would not be joining us this morning. And yes, I told her big time we would really, really miss her, and of course, we do miss her. Mags, see you tomorrow, by God's grace. Thank you, TF. Good to see you folks. On that note, Georgie Porgy had breakfast this morning, honest truth. So he's going to get down to some work right now. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.